Okay, let's have a word example, word problem. This one's a bit long. I apologize. You might want to pause and write it out. So a balloon is floating in the air, and Mackenzie and Joshua are on the ground. Not much, it's not very clear. Using a rangefinder, that tells you how far away you are from things, Mackenzie determines that she is 22 meters away from the balloon, whereas Joshua is only 18 meters away from that balloon. Mackenzie also determines that the angle of elevation from her to the balloon is 37 degrees. And so the question is, how far apart are Mackenzie and Joshua? So let's try to draw this thing. So what we have is so we have a balloon. And then what we have is Mackenzie and Joshua. Okay, so what we know that, let's put some numbers on. Mackenzie is 22 meters away from the balloon. So Mackenzie is 22 meters away from the balloon. Joshua is 18 meters away from the balloon. And the angle of elevation from her to the balloon, so the angle of elevation is this one over here, looking up at the balloon, is 37 degrees. And the question is, how far apart are Mackenzie and Joshua, which we'll call W for no major reason, except that's kind of the letter I used before. Okay, so we're going to go and solve this. I really didn't leave myself much room here. I'll kind of squish it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find this angle first, which I'm going to call X. So it's going to say, so sine X over 22 equals sine 37 over 18. So sine X is 22 sine 37 over 18. And X ends up being the inverse sine of those guys, 22 sine 37, 18. And X ends up being about 47 degrees. 47.4 degrees. Or we need to have a third quadrant answer. So 47.4, I mean not third quadrant, second quadrant. Or 132.6 degrees. Okay, and then we're going to have to find W for each of these. So let's make our triangles. So we have 37, 47.4, 2218. Or we have 37, 132, so that's going to be that obtuse type of thing. 22 and 18. And we need to figure out the W, which is how far apart they are. So we're going to have to figure out what our missing angle is. Make sure both answers are possible. If we get a negative answer, of course, plus 47.4. So that's going to be 84.4 degrees. And that's going to be 10.4 degrees. So in this case, there's two possible answers, and both answers work. So how do we figure it out? What we do, well, I'm going to say that W over sine 84.4 degrees is 18 over sine 37, or alternatively, W over the sine of 10.4 degrees equals 18 over sine 37. And so W equals 18 sine 84.4 over sine 37, or W equals 18 sine 10.4 or sine of 37. And we're putting it all together now. 18 times the sine of 84.4 equals divided by sine 37. So they might be 29.8. And I think I gave units. Yeah, so now this problem had meters, which means that these distances are actually meters, which means now that this distance is a meter, is 29.8 meters. And similarly, 18 sine 10.4 divided by sine 37 is 5.40. Or they can be 5.40 meters apart. And so therefore, when you write the answer to the question, it's going to be therefore, Mackenzie and Joshua are either 29.8 meters or 5.4 meters away from each other. And that would be your answer. Now, how is this possible? How could it be two different things? Well, we assume that the balloon was in the middle, but it doesn't have to be, right? We have Mackenzie. Either we have Mackenzie and Joshua with the balloon over there, or we have Mackenzie and Joshua with the balloon somewhere over there. And either way, the angle is going to work out. And that's it.